All right, off we go. We're learning all about Purim because what better way to celebrate the 3 weeks and learn about Purim? And actually, today we're going to learn about all the Yom Tovim, all the holidays, Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot, even Tisha B'av. All right, we're holding here in the Megillah, Mesechta Megillah Daf Lamed Amud Beis 30b. We have just about another 3 amudim. A lot and a half till we finish the Mesechta. And Mitzvah Shem on track for the 9 days. Today's Gemara is not so complicated, although it sounds a little bit scary maybe on the outset. It's a Mishnah in the Gemara mainly listing off what are the Torah readings that you read on every single holiday, special day, Yom Tov, Chol Hamoed, Rosh Chodesh, fast day, etc. And that's what we're going to have in today's Gemara. So the Mishnah, 4 lines from the bottom, Lamed Amud Beis 30b. Says the Mishnah, and you can see here on the screen as well next to me. I'm going to bring here's a little chart sort of to give a little context. What Torah reading you read on which particular day. Right? The Gemara is going to describe the Torah reading and the Haftarah for different occasions. So first we're going to discuss Pesach. Pesach, of course, we brought the carbon Pesach in Mitzrayim in Egypt. The Pesach sacrifice, sheep tied to our bed. And the Haftarah is the Pesach sacrifice that was brought by the Jewish people in Eretz Yisrael. Second day of Pesach, we read Shara Chesev, and you'd only have a second day of Pesach in Chutz La'aretz outside of Eretz Yisrael. The Torah reading on the second day of Pesach is Shara Chesev, the same Torah reading as the first days of Sukkot. And over there, you discuss the carbon Pesach that was brought during the time of Yeshua HaMelech, which we mentioned him just previously. First day of Shavuos, we read about the giving of the Torah. Second day of Shavuos, we read about Bikurim. Eretz Yisrael, there's one day we'll only read about the giving of the Torah. And the Haftarah is about the Merkava. You have the Masayim, the chariot that Yecheskel saw. That's the second day. The first day, the Haftarah is Chabakuk, some of the Psukim which discuss giving the Torah. Rosh Hashanah, we read what happened in Rosh Hashanah, Akedas Yitzchak, the binding of Yitzchak, and we read about how Hashem remembered Sarah, and Yitzchak was born and had a bris. And that's the first day of Rosh Hashanah, and the Haftarah is also someone else who had a child, which is Chana.
What?
Chana.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Chana. And second day of Rosh Hashanah, the Haftarah is Haben Yakar Li Ephraim. I will always remember the Jewish people. Yom Kippur, we're going to discuss the Torah reading of Shachris and Mincha, because Yom Kippur and Tisha B'av are the 2 unique Haftarahs, 2 unique fast days where there's Haftarah by Shachris and by Mincha. Yom Kippur, we read about the Avodah of the Beis of the Kohen Gadol, and the Haftarah by Shachris is about the idea of Teshuvah, and by Mincha it's Mafter Yoina, the story of Yoina Hanavi. And on Sukkot, first days and last days of Sukkot, the first days is very Mashiach Dika Haftarah, very Gog Magog Haftarah. The big buildings will fall down. I remember reading that a couple of days, like a week or two, no, a few weeks after the falling of the Twin Towers. And all the nations will try making the Sukkah, being in the Sukkah. That's the first day of Sukkot. And the second day of Sukkot, we speak about Shlomo HaMelech dedicating the Beis HaMikdash, and it went all the way until Sukkot. They did not fast in Kippur that year, as you're aware, correct? I'm going to discuss the curses and the blessings. Curses is in B'chukoisai. There's a list of blessings and opposite of blessings that will happen to the Jewish people if they follow the Torah or if they don't follow the Torah. And it's the longest aliyah in the Torah, as you're well aware. In Kisava is actually longer, 68 psukim. It's longer than the rest of the parsha combined. And in Parshas Bechukosa is also quite a long aliyah. But the person who's about Torah who reads the Torah receives that aliyah. They do not get called up to the Torah. And you don't interrupt in the middle. You don't make two different aliyahs. We're also going to discuss the haftarahs of the entire, as you go throughout the entire year. We're going to discuss why we say korbanos every single morning before davening. And that will pretty much carry us up all the way until the end of the Mesechta. So let us start the Mishnah. By Pesach, on Pesach, first day of Pesach, you read in Parshas Emor, over here, Shorei Chesed. Back. Let me just bring this chart next to us so we'll be able to cycle back and forth. This chart over here is in Hebrew, but this should be enough for people to at least follow along over here. Batzeres, now that's if there's only one day of Pesach. If there's more than one day of Pesach, then like we have, and Chutz La'aretz, outside of Israel, then we read two different kriyas. Batzeres on Shavuos, which outside of Eretz Yisrael is 2 days, but inside of Eretz Yisrael is 1 day. You read Shiva Shavuos. You read 7, the Parsha and Chumash Dvarim. Shiva Shavuos, Sisbalach, Malchach, Hemesh, Barkaima. You should, in Parsha Surah, you have to count 7 weeks in order, and then afterwards celebrate Shavuos. On Pesach, we already read Parshas Emor, which talks about the Yom Tov, and this is a second Torah reading which speaks about all the Yom Tovim. And on Sukkot, you're going to repeat what it says in Parshas Emor. So therefore, in Shavuos, we read Kol HaBachar, or Aser Ta'aser, if it's a Shabbos. B'Rosh Hashanah, what do you read in Rosh Hashanah? B'Chodesh HaShvi B'Echel HaChodesh. Parshas Acharemus. Once again, Parshas Emor. Yom Kippurim, Acharemus, and Yom Kippur, you read Acharemus, the Avodah, the service of the Kohen Gadol in the Mishkan or the Kodesh Kadashim, the Holy of Holies. Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag, Parshas Moedah Shebteres Kohanim. On the first day of Sukkot, you read Shorei Chesed, which is in Parshas Emor, right? Which is mentioning all the Yom Tovim, and and the rest of the days of Chol HaMoed, we read in this past week, Parshas Pinchas, you read the korbanos that were brought every single day. Every single day of Sukkot was a different amount of korbanos, and we changed just a few words, a few letters, and we read that all the rest of the days of Chol HaMoed Sukkot, right? So this is just what we read on Sukkot. This is after the first day, and every single other day, you have a series of 3 psukim. You have Mashlishi in the 3rd day, you have Revi in the 4th day, you have Chamishi in the 5th day, etc. On Chanukah, we read Banesim in Parshas Nosai. The longest parsha in the Torah of a single parsha. This week is much, much longer than Parshas Nosai. This week is Matas Masei.
It's a double Torah portion this year.
Exactly. I think it's the only double Torah portion this year because we are in a leap year. And you repeat in Parashas Nasa, you repeat 12 times for every single shevet, every single tribe, the korban that they brought. 12 times over and over. And that's when they dedicated the Mizbeach, the altar in the Mishkan, and we read that every single day of Hanukkah, because that's when we dedicated the Mizbeach. But Purim, what do you read on Purim? Vayavo Amalek, and Amalek came. That's in Parshas B'Shalach. I remember, if you recall, that's the only Torah reading of the year, which is less than 10 psukim long. That is 9 psukim long, but you're not able to divide it into 10 psukim. And we say it's okay that you do 9 psukim because you're doing the Megillah afterwards. So you're showing that we're not trying to leave. We're trying to. We are doing more psukim to make up to the number 10. Keneged Aseres Adibros, as we went previously. So in Purim, you read from Parshas B'Shalach, the only Torah reading of the year of 9 psukim. Remember what Amalek, always remember, Lo tishkach, destroy Amalek, al tishkach. Rosh Chodesh, what do you read on Rosh Chodesh? Again, Parshas Pinchas. V'Roshei Chodshechem, Chamishi, Parshas Pinchas, as we read this past week. On Rosh Chodesh, you bring the karbanos of Rosh Chodesh. And of course, we went through this at length, figuring out how we divide these, how you fit 4 aliyahs into 3 paragraphs of different size paragraphs, 5 and a 3 and a, etc. B'mamadis. You remember what mamadis is?
Isn't that actually the
third to last word on the line, fourth last word on the page? Anshe Maimer are the representatives of the Jewish nation. Every single karban, the owner has to be present. So, if not the owner, at least a messenger of the one who's bringing the karban has to be present. I'd love to send a representative to do jury duty, correct? But for some reason, the courts don't allow that yet. Every single person who brings a karban has to be present themselves. Now, there's daily karbanos every single day that are brought for the entire nation. How is it possible for every single Jew to be present at every single karban? We have representatives. Every city would have a certain amount of people that they would represent, and they would one person to the Beis Hamikdash, representatives from every tribe in every large city, and in every city individually, you had the representatives of the entire city who would fast every single day of that week, and they would read a certain Torah reading of the Ma'aseh Bereshis, the very beginning of the Torah, going through the 7 days of creation. Every day they would read another day of creation, and as you recall, we also had to explain how you fit 10 psukim into the aliyahs on those different days of creation and have different Torah readings. Every single day they would read another part of the Torah of the day of creation. And the reason why they would read, Rashi says, the story of creation of the world, not just the story, the repeating creation of the world is because the world was created to bring karbanos, and if not for the karbanos, the heavens and earth would not exist. And therefore, they would read that every single day. That's also another time when you could have a Torah reading of 9 psukim, not 10 psukim, on the time of Mamadis. This would be only in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, but it does not take place now. Last word on the page, Betanius, on a fast day. We're not speaking about a fast day of fast that we do nowadays. Nowadays, we have 5 fasts a year, besides from Yom Kippur. And on these fast days, we read Vayichal. And Moshe Rabbeinu begged Hashem for forgiveness. All the fast days are connected to the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, one way or the other, including Tainus Esther. And so we ask Hashem to forgive us for our sins, that why the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. So nowadays, or currently, on a regular fast day, we read Vayichal in Parshas Kisisa. But a fast day, which is instituted for tsaras, for troubles, for example, if there's a drought, if there's a plague, those type of fast days, then you read, turning the page, Lamed Aleph, from Aleph 31a, Berachos Ukvalos. You read Parshas Bichukosai. the blessings and the opposite of blessings. Correct.
Oh.
The blessings and the opposite of blessings, which Hashem tells us in Parshas Bechukaisai, which will take place. If you listen to the Torah, you receive many blessings. If you don't listen to the Torah, many things can happen the opposite.
Oh,
And then people will realize the Torah spells it straight out. Baruch Ish, blessed is the man who does this. Cursed is a man who does not do this. And therefore, it's very clear cut what is good and what is not good. And everyone should do teshuvah on this fast day. So you read the brachas, the blessings, and the kollels, and the opposite of blessings. We do not interrupt in middle of all the curses. Rather, one person receives that aliyah, even on a fast day. So, for example, let's go back over here. Vayikra, chapter 26, near the very end of the Bechukaisai. You see here on the screen, if Hashem starts off right away, beginning of the parsha, if you will follow my mitzvahs, go on my commandments, I'll give you the rain in your time, the land will yield its produce, blessings, blessing, aliyah, second aliyah, more blessings, I'm going to give you peace in the land, you're going to chase away your enemies, one person will chase away 10,000, I'm going to make you fruitful, multiply, successful, happy, your food's going to last so long, you're not going to never have to pick new food, I will be with you, blessing after blessing. Middle of the aliyah of Shlishi starts, if you don't listen, all these mitzvahs, and then goes, this will happen, that will happen, that will happen, unfortunately, that. And all these things happen, and it goes all the way to the end, till from Memdalit, all the way till, these are the mitzvahs which Hashem gave to the Jewish people, beyond Moshe, and Har Sinai in the hand of Moshe. The last few psukim is Hashem is positive, I will remember my covenant. But it goes to Pasuk Memvav, all the way from Pasuk Yud. So Yud to Memvav, the Halachar, that's 37 psukim in this aliyah, even on a fast day. Even if it's not Shabbos, you'll have a 37 pasuk aliyah. Right? In Parshas Kisava, it's much, much longer. And this is in order that everyone should do teshuvah. So one person receives this aliyah. So we have this as well. This year, Parshas Bechukaisai was a separate parsha, was not a double parsha. And the first aliyah is 3 psukim. Second aliyah is 3 psukim. And the third aliyah was 37 psukim. From the entire parsha, let's see how big the parsha is. The whole Bechukaisai is only... See, how long is Bechukaisai? Well, Bechukaisai is only 78 psukim. So 37 are just of this one aliyah. Because you don't want to interrupt. Because you always want to start on a good note, end on a good note. But the middle, you want it to be positive. So therefore, you don't interrupt the middle of this aliyah. Basheni, Bachamishi, Bashabbos, the Mincha, Karen Kesidron. Moshe Rabbeinu, he he instituted that every Jew, we have to read the Torah on Monday, Thursday, and Shabbos in the morning, in order that we shouldn't go by 3 days without Torah. When did he institute that? Do you remember? You went this previously? After a certain incident.
Yeah, when they're complaining about the water.
Exactly. In Mara, it says they travel 3 days without water. They travel 3 days without learning Torah. And then they complained, and then they rebelled against Hashem. Hashem had to reel them in, give them more mitzvahs, Shabbos, etc. And what happened right afterwards? Who came to the fight with us?
Amalek.
The same, someone with the same letters, right? Coming to fight with us now. We can't give up our Torah learning. Make sure 3 days don't go by without learning Torah. And Hashem will fight the Amalek of today as well. So Moshe Rabbeinu enacted that you should not go 3 days without reading Torah. Now, how much Torah do you have to read? 3 psukim, at least something substantial. Ezra said you have to call 3 people to the Torah, Chaim, Levi, and Yisrael. Each one has to read at least 3 psukim. And he also said that there's some people which on Shabbos, they like taking their time. They're not necessarily going to be in shul in the morning, or they're going to waste their time Shabbos afternoon. And therefore, you have to read the Torah, you do once again Shabbos by Mincha. What do you read on Monday, Thursday, Shabbos, and Shabbos Mincha? So b'sheni v'chamishu Shabbos Mincha Karen Kesidron, you read the regular parsha of the week. Shenemar, as it states, although you read the first aliyah on Monday and Thursday, but it's not counted towards the Shabbos reading. You can't start from Sheni on Shabbos, right? You can't do that. You have to start over from the beginning of the parsha. So when Shabbos comes, you start once again from the beginning. And you continue from where you left off last Shabbos. The reason why you're doing it is not in order to learn the whole Torah. That's not why you're doing it on Monday and Thursday, but rather you're doing it in order to not go 3 days without learning Torah.
But why did we pick, I'm starting off the cycle of the 3 days to start off with the Monday.
So
Why not
start from
Sunday?
Shabbos.
Well,
Shabbos, we always read the Torah,
Yeah.
right? Shabbos, everyone gathers and always reads the Torah. So from Shabbos, they would want to do it on days that people gather. So people would typically gather on Monday and Thursday in the market days. And so that I'm saying you could do 2 different options. You could do Tuesday, Friday, or Monday, Thursday. Friday, people are getting ready for Shabbos. They don't have time for it. So you do Thursday. And then Monday is also a market day. People have to bring their things to the city.
Sure.
If you realize one Yom Tov we did not mention over here, then we don't. What we read? Which Yom Tov didn't we mention? Shmini Atzeres.
Shmini Atzeres. But Shmini Atzeres is being subsumed with Sukkot, right?
No, it's its own holiday. It's on Yom Tov.
I know. The only thing is that it's like Sukkot, which we say.
Why do you think we skipped out Shmini Atzeres over here?
We're repeating something, aren't we? Maybe the same. Oh, no.
So in Chutz La'aretz we read Kollel Bechar. We read Kollel Bechar because we have an extra day of Yom Tov. According to the Ashkenaz, we even start earlier. We start Aser to Aser. Now, Shmini Atzeres in Eretz Yisrael is when they would conclude the Torah. That's when they do it in Eretz Yisrael. It's not, so it wouldn't really be part of the regular Kriya, the regular Torah learning, the regular cycle of the other Yom Tovim, because you're not really reading the theme of the day. You don't read about Shmini Atzeres on Shmini Atzeres.
There's the story, Shmini Atzeres Simchas Torah. Yeah.
Now, why don't we read the Korbanos of Shabbos on Shabbos? Just like every Rosh Chodesh, you read about the Rosh Chodesh on Rosh Chodesh, and you also read about Shabbos on Rosh Chodesh. Why don't you read the weekly, every week you should have a maftir of Yom HaShabbos on Shabbos. All right, so let's give a few reasons. The reason of Korbanos, sacrifices are to atone for the Jewish people. Shabbos, you don't need a kapara. We don't say tachnon. We don't say b'shalom nebeganu. Shabbos is a yom ratzon. It's a day to come close to Hashem out of love, not out of vidoy. Therefore, you don't read it on Shabbos. Also, the karbanos of Shabbos are only 2 psukim in the Torah. So how are you going to make an aliyah of 2 psukim? And if you're reading before and afterwards, it's completely not on the topic. It's topic of a daily carbon, topic of the Rosh Chodesh carbon. So it's completely off topic. Also, the Haftarah has to be in the theme of the last aliyah. So if every single week, the last aliyah would be V'yoyim HaShabbos, the maftir of Shabbos, every single week the Haftarah would have to be with a theme of Shabbos. Again, if every single Haftarah of the year has to be you want it to connect to the parsha, because the whole reason you're reading the Haftarah because instead of reading the weekly parsha. Because Haftarah is like the end of Kriyas HaTorah. Also, on Yom Tov, you anyways don't read the regular weekly parsha. You're reading a different parsha, as we just listed off all the different Torah readings of Yom Tov. Since you're reading a different one anyways, so therefore, you add on another different one. Take out a second Sefer Torah and add a maftir. But Shabbos, we're reading the regular weekly. We're not deviating. We're doing a regular weekly Shabbos, so we don't want to deviate unless we already have a deviation going on. So when they enacted the maftir and Haftarah, they did not enact it for Shabbos, only for Yom Tov. Rosh Chodesh is different. Rosh Chodesh, because anyways, the whole Torah reading on Rosh Chodesh to begin with is only for Rosh Chodesh. Let's continue. It says, Shenemar as it states, how do you know that in every single Yom Tov you have to read about the theme of the Yom Tov? By Daber Moshe Esmoyed Hashem states at the end of Parshas Emor, Moshe spoke Esmoyed Hashem, the holidays of a God, Al Bnei Yisrael, to the Jewish people. Mitzvasin shiukarin kalecha v'recha b'zmani, meaning every single one, every Yom Tov has to be learned and read about out loud at its time. At the very end of the Mesechta, we're going to bring this pasuk again to teach us how you have to learn about the topic of the Yom Tov, not just relying on listening to the Kriyas Torah, but you have to learn about the Yom Tov 30 days before. And then we're going to have that based on this pasuk as well. An interesting thing, let's say, and it's happened many places, many times, you don't have a minyan for Torah reading on a Monday or Thursday morning. Do I still, now in the afternoon, I got a minyan together, and now we have a minyan who needs to hear Kriyas Torah. Should we do Kriyas Torah in the afternoon or not? Here's the two sides. Is it part of Shacharis? Part of Shacharis, you can't do it in the afternoon. Or is it because you don't want to go 3 days without Torah? And then you could do it in the afternoon.
The afternoon of Shabbos, you're talking about, right?
No, a Monday or Thursday.
On Monday, Thursday. You notice you didn't hear it on Shabbos.
Correct.
And I can't say
because if you look at the words over here in the Mishnah, it says b'shachris. There's stories back and forth, many different poskim who came into such a situation, and they were traveling, and they're trying to they were in a city where there are no Jews, and finally in the afternoon they came to a city where there's many Jews and wanted to read the Torah, and they did Kriyas Torah. So seemingly you are allowed to. It's b'diavad mitzvah's the entire day, the Kriyas Torah to do. It doesn't have to be only in the morning. Continue. It says Gemara, Tana Rabbanan, our rabbis taught us in a Brisa. A Pesach on Pesach, Koirin, Parshas Moedos, Meftirim b'Pesach. You read on Shari Chesev, Parshas Emor, which goes through all the Yom Tovim, all the holidays, and the Haftarah is from Yeshua about Pesach, and we brought this before. All right, we brought this before. We could cycle back and forth just to make it simpler, but we went through this already. This is the Torah reading. This is a Haftarah. And the Haftarah is about Pesach and Yeshua, that the Jewish people brought a carbon Pesach, first time in 39 years. Pesach Gilgal, in Gilgal, the first Pesach they came to Eretz Yisrael. The Inna nowadays, the Ika Treyomi, we have 2 days of Yom Tov, right? This is Gemara Bavli, they have 2 days of Yom Tov. Yom HaKama Pesach Gilgal, and Machar Pesach Yoshiyahu. The first day we do the Haftarah of Pesach offering brought by Yeshua and Gilgal, because that's the idea of Pesach. And the second day we do the Pesach offering brought by Melachim by Yoshiyahu, which is also connected. It says Nasak Pesach Hazel. They never made such a great carbon Pesach like that before. Since the times of the Shlomo Melech, right, or since the times he even left Egypt, it wasn't such a great carbon Pesach like that carbon Pesach when he restored the entire glory to the Beis Hamikdash. He removed all traces of idol worship from the entire Eretz Yisrael, from the Beis Hamikdash, and all the nation together made a carbon Pesach. Now,
he was about tshuva.
Oh, Yeshio.
He's saying he wasn't raised from Beis.
Correct. Right. Correct. Now, at this point, the Gemara only discussed the Haftarah of the first 2 days of Pesach. Right now, it seems like the Torah reading is the same. In practice, bring this up over here. The Torah reading on the first days of Pesach are different. We're going to have the opinions here in the Gemara. It's according to the Brisa that we're learning now in Rav Papa. The Torah reading in the first 2 days of Pesach is this, and this. The Torah reading is Shor Chesef in Parshas Amar, and the Haftarah is different. We're going to bring currently another opinion in the Gemara. Ushar Yemais Pesach, all the rest of the days of Pesach, Melakit v'Kardim Inyanis Pesach. You gather together from all around different Torah readings, which discuss or mention or bring up Pesach in the Torah. Mahi, what are they? Amar Rav Papa says Rav Papa. Mapo. Mapo siman. A mnemonic way to remember this is the word mapo. If you look at any siddur, I'll bring just a siddur here over here. You come to the Torah readings of Pesach, right? And it tells you all the different options. Mashach Torah. Let's bring it up over here. Focus, Hanukkah, Pesach. Readings for Chol HaMoed Pesach. Interesting. Okay, this I guess the newer Siddurim don't have it. Classic Siddur would have it. Won't that classic Siddur would have this? Amar Papa says Ma'apo Simin. Ma'apos, that is Mem Aleph Pei Vav. These stand for the 4 different Torah readings that we read on Pesach. Chol HaMoed Pesach, particularly when there's 4 days of Chol HaMoed. Mem Aleph Pei Vav. Mem stands for Mishchu. It's in Parshas Boy, right? Moshe told the Jewish people, Mishchu, draw out, take for yourselves sheep and bring a carbon Pesach. The Aleph stands for Im Kesef Talves Ami. This is back to here. Im Kesef Talves Ami, if you will lend my people monies in Parshas Mishpatim. And at the end, it goes through what you should bring on Pesach. Im Kesef Talves Ami. Pasuk Tezvav, and then it says over here, "Es Chag HaMatzos Tishmar." You should guard the festival of the matzos, right? And don't eat chametz for 7 days. So it mentions Pesach in one pasuk. So we go all the way from the beginning, a long time before, because we need to get 3 aliyahs, and therefore we start off in Kesef Talveh, the rest of Parashas Mishpatim, and we end off. In the last aliyah we have is Chag HaMatzos. You should guard the Yom Tiv of Pesach and not eat chametz during those days. Pei, Mapo, what's Pei? Stand for Psal Lecha, Parshas Kisisa. Shem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, bring for yourself hew for your car for yourself 2 new luchas. Moshe Rabbeinu broke the previous luchas, and Hashem told him, make for yourself new ones. Psal lecha. Because later on, after we have the 13 attributes of mercy, Hashem kol racham v'chanon. Later on, Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, as Chag HaMatzah is Tishmar, you should guard the festival of the unleavened bread for 7 days. You should eat unleavened bread. The time I set you in the month of the spring. From there, we know we have to have a leap year sometimes, because Pesach is called Chag Aviv, Chodesh Aviv, the month of the spring. So therefore, it has to come when it's already spring, and that's how this is our source for making a 13th month in the calendar, in the Jewish calendar sometimes. Because in the month of spring, you left Mitzrayim. Right? So you have, once again, one pasuk, one verse discussing the Yom Tiv of Pesach. Mapo, Mem Aleph Pei Vav. What's a Vav stand for? This is the Karban Pesach the Jews brought in their second year that they were in the desert. And once again, it says, Shivas Yom Teichel Matzos. You should make a Karban Pesach in its time. And it says later on, the people which were impure, the halachos of Pesach Sheni, and Shivas Yom Teichel Matzos, for 7 days, you should eat matzah. Right. So once again, these 4 parshas speak about Pesach. Okay, another 3 minutes. So we'll do Gemara, and then we'll jump to Beis Habchirah. Yom Tov Acharon Shel Pesach. Right. Let's go back. Let's maybe X out some of these. We have a lot of links open over here. Let's go back over here. Now the last days of Pesach. All right. So we had the first day of Pesach, second day of Pesach, Kol Hamoed. We just listed off Mapo, right? These 4, we're quoting the Brisa right now, right? These 4, what you read, and now we're up to Shvi Shel Pesach and Achron Shel Pesach, and in this, there is not going to be any disagreement. We actually go like Abaya nowadays. So this Brisa that we're learning now is not the halacha, because when he says Vav Mishchu K'chu, we actually read on the second day of Yom Tov, and we actually add another parsha. A parsha that we read in Tefillin, Kal Shliach Bechor, right? That parsha and Parshas Boy, Kal Shliach Bechor Israel, that we actually read on Chol Hamoed Pesach. And according to Reb Papa, the Brisa we're learning now, you don't read that on Chol Hamoed Pesach, because they have one extra Torah reading. According to this Brisa, the first and second day of Pesach, you read the same thing. Just like Sukkot, you read the same thing the first and second day. Shorei Chesed, according to this Brisa, you read the same thing. Abaye is going to say different. On the last days of Pesach, and this we're all going to be in agreement. Koren Vahi B'Shalach, Shvi Shel Pesach, the 7th day of Pesach, when the Jews crossed the
Red Sea.
The Red Sea.
Yom Tov.
And that's, we left Mitzrayim, and now we're finally time to graduate 1 week out. And that's what we read that day. Maftirin, and Haftarah is Vayidaber David. And David sang his song to Hashem. A little bit of trivia. Want to hear a little bit of trivia?
Yeah, sure.
This is how they would test for a chassan back in the olden days. You know, they wanted to have a chassan, but you wanted to make sure he's able to read, to know, you know, want to make sure he's a Yiras Shamayim as well. And you come from Ger, right? So in Ger, this is what they would do.
Yeah.
They would, if someone wanted to, you know, check out the prospective chassan, so they would make sure they get the prospective father will make sure that they get this haftarah. Why? Because let's have a look at the haftarah. Wrong one. Shmuel Beis. David Hashem is Divrei Shir Zois. This is in Shmuel, correct? And David spoke the words. And there Hashem saved him. Ayer Hashem Salim Sedasim Faltili. And it sounds familiar, these words? Okay, so David sounds familiar to you?
No.
Let's go to Tehillim. Let's go to Tehillim. And let's go to the third day of the month. Hebrew. Right? These are the words David said. Right? These are the words he said. And he said, let's even compare it side by side. Right? Compare it side by side. No, this is not supposed to happen like this. This is a song that David HaMelech sang on the day that Hashem saved him. Try this once again. And he says, Hashem Salim Sudasi, Faltili, right? And if you look over here, you get the same exact thing, same exact words. Hashem Salim Sudasi, Faltili, Keli Surechsabai. You recognize this sefer?
Oh, when we say for Shmuel,
no, but this one over here, you recognize the words? The layout. This is a sefer Tehillim. It's Kapitel Yudches, chapter 18 of Tehillim. Right? And the Haftarah of the seventh day of Pesach is the Shira, the song of David HaMelech, which he sang to Hashem. And it's almost word for word, because after all, David HaMelech wrote Tehillim, and David HaMelech is in Shmuel Beis saying this song, the Shira. It's just only slight differences. So somebody says Tehillim all the time and is familiar with chapter 18, Kapitel Yudches. So whenever if they get the Haftarah of the seventh day of Pesach, they always make mistakes in the Haftarah. Because if they make mistakes, that means they're familiar with the Tehillim and they're used to saying it the way it is in Tehillim. Right? Let's look at verse 5. Right? It says, I'll just do it only for the Hebrew. Verse 5. Look at verse 5. So you see a whole bunch of differences. Takes out the word mishbrei, puts the word chevle, vinachle, vav. So there's a lot of differences. So if somebody reads Haftarah with a lot of mistakes that are from the Tehillim, then you know he probably says Tehillim. He's probably familiar with the Tehillim.
Oh, and others actually wanted to make mistakes.
Exactly. Right? But if someone is called up and he reads it perfectly because he wants to impress everybody, say, this guy doesn't say so much Tehillim. It must be something a little bit off with him. So that was a test they used to do in Ger. So David, maybe that's your grandparents had this test.
Yeah.
They want to see your perspective, Chassan.
Indeed, actually, my father's parents was an arranged marriage in Poland.
Oh wow. Ulamachar, and the last day of Pesach, they read Kollel Eretz Hatzvi. Once again, Parshas Re'eh. Which goes through all the Yom Tovim. Umaftir and Haftarah is Oida Yom. It's a very Mashiach Dike Haftarah. In the last days of Pesach, we don't say Shachianu because we're waiting for Mashiach. Mashiach comes, we'll say Shachianu in the last days. It's not yet complete. The Galus, the Gula, the redemption from Mitzrayim, from Egypt, until Mashiach comes. And the Haftarah of the last day is tremendous Mashiach Haftarah.
Oh, as far as the Cheskel, right?
Yeshaya.
It
says, Mashiach will stand. Hika biyadin menachalim. He will. The sea will split. He will. Reach rucha. He will. Richa b'yiras Hashem. He'll be able to smell and judge people by smell and have yiras Hashem. Tremendous Haftarah. Lots of beautiful promises about Mashiach. It's very Mashiach type of Haftarah. Chizkiyahu, he was supposed to be Chizkiyahu was supposed to be Mashiach, and here he speaks about the downfall of Sancheiriv, which occurred on the night of Pesach, but also it's all about Mashiach. This is really part of that Gemara, but we'll do this one tomorrow. So as time is up, I do not want to hold anybody any longer than they're supposed to. So Shekayach, it's already 12 o'clock. I'm going to play the third shiur in the series of shiurim. As class number 4, the fourth shiur of the shiurim of the Beis Habchirah of the Beis Hamikdash, but this is totally optional. Anybody wants to go, has what to do, you can definitely go.
Welcome to the fourth class on the structure and details of the. Welcome to the fourth class on the structure and details of the second Beis Hamikdash. So in this class, we're going to talk about the entrances to the Azara. And there were 7 entrances to the Azara. There was 1 entrance to the east, 3 entrances to the north, and 3 entrances to the south. So let's go through each of these 7 entrances. So to the east, we had Sha'ar Nikanor. To the north, Beis HaMoiked, Sha'ar Karbonis, and Sha'ar Nitzitz. And to the south, Sha'ar Hamayim, Sha'ar Habchiris, and Sha'ar Hadelek. So we're going to start and talk a little bit about the Sha'ar Nikanor. So the Sha'ar Nikanor was the main entrance to the Azara, and they were the only doors. The doors to the Sha'ar Nikanor were the only doors that were made of bronze because of a special story that happened with these doors, but nevertheless they shone like gold, like all the other doors that were made of gold. Then in the north, we have the Beis HaMoiked. So the Beis HaMoiked is the most complicated of all of the entrances because it was an entire structure. And it's a discussion whether it was built entirely over here in the area of the Har HaBayis, or whether part of it was in the Azara and part in outside of the Azara in the Har HaBayis. But either way, half of it was considered Kodesh and half Chol. The inner part was considered Kodesh and the outer part Chol. And it was an entire structure like we'll see. So the following is a diagram of the Beis HaMoiked. So you can see it's an entire building, and within it there are 4 rooms. And we're going to go through these rooms. So in this corner over here, the southwestern corner, there was Lishkas Hatzlayim, where there were ready sheep for Karbonis, and there were never less than 6 sheep over here. Then in this corner we have the Lishkas Oise Lechem Aponim, where they would prepare and bake the Lechem Aponim. Here they had the stones. So this is where the stones of the Mizbeach that were defiled by the Yevonim were buried. And here there was a mikvah. So this is where there was a winding staircase leading to a mikvah, and any kohen that became tamei would descend and toivel himself in the mikvah, and then leave the Har HaBayis. And like we mentioned in an earlier class, that's when Sha'ar Todi, the gate on the north side of the Har HaBayis, was used. And there was also a bathroom down in this room over here, by the winding staircase. And over here, there were beds extended from the walls where the Kohanim would sleep. So it seems like it was sort of bleachers coming down, and the Kohanim would sleep along these bleachers on each side. And then over here, there were doors. There was this one door leading to the Har HaBayis and one door leading to the Azara. Now, regarding the door leading to the Azara, it had within it a smaller door. Like we mentioned, each of the doors was quite large, up to 3 stories high around. So within this big door, there was a smaller door, and this smaller door was used in the mornings by the Kohanim, the ones that would enter to inspect the Azara. And then once they were done inspecting it, they would close the smaller door and open the bigger door, and they would start the Avodah of the day. And the key for the door was placed under one of the tiles that a kohen slept on. So a kohen sleeping over here would be on top of one of the tiles. Apparently it's on one of these sides. He would sleep on the tile that had the key in it. Let's move along to the other doors. So here we have the Sha'ar HaKarbonis. So this was the gate that was used through which Kodshei Kodashim were brought. And the reason is because the Kodshei Kodashim could only be shechted on the north side. So the gate was over here on the north side. Then we have the Sha'ar HaNitzitz. This was not just a gate, but like the Beis HaMoiked, in a sense, it was an entire structure, and the Kohanim stood guard on top of it. Then here we have on the bottom, on the south, the Sha'ar HaMayim. Sha'ar HaMayim is the sha'ar that the water that was used for Nisach HaMayim on Sukkot was brought in through that gate. Then we have the Sha'ar HaBachiris. the Becheres were brought in through this gate, and the Shechita of the Becheres was also kosher on the south side of the Azara. So it could be brought in on this side as well, unlike the Kachikachim that were only able to be shechted on the north side. And then finally we have the Shar Hadelek, where the wood for the Mizbeach was brought in through. So the wood was being checked, we said earlier, in the Ezras Nashim. It was taken out apparently from the main entrance of the Ezras Nashim and then brought into the Azara through the Shar Hadelek. And with that, we'll end the fourth class.
Okay.
So they kind of had a lot of cholesterol.